All right, we took a DFS look at tonight's NBA slate to start the show. So if you missed that, hit the rewind there on YouTube. But right now, we're going to chase or fade the following NBA sportsbook plays on tonight's slate with our three-man squad, DraftKings contributors, Julian, Edlow, and Kenny Ducey, along with the host of the Four Seasons podcast for Ball is Life. That's Ryan Magdziarz. Jules, Wizards favored by 11.5 over the Thunder. Chase or fade, they cover the largest spread of the evening.
10.5 this morning, already on the move again. Now it's at 12. I don't know if we thought that we would see the Wizards favored by this many points this season. It's pretty crazy. So you got to think it's the other way. And then you look at what the Thunder have done recently. They're on 10, 11, 12 game losing streak they're on now, and losing games in there to bad teams by a lot of points. Like just getting blown out by teams missing half of their own team. So there is no way that I can back the Thunder in any capacity right now. At the same time, I'm not going to lay 12 with the Wizards. If you made me bet the game, I'm betting the Wizards because I cannot possibly back OKC. Maybe I would do it on the first half line to try and avoid a huge spread on what would have to be a blowout. But yeah, my main takeaway is that it's amazing that the Wizards are 12-point favorites right now.
Is it that amazing in your eyes, Ryan? And do they cover?
Everything Julian just said is correct, but still there's a part of me that does not like betting Wizards and 12 points. I am fading this. Everything adds up and it seems correct, but it's just one of those things where anything can happen. I know that the Wizards are hot. They've won their last 4 games, but they're inconsistent in those. They play good teams good, bad teams bad. They win by double digits one night and then play close bad teams the next. It's just all over the place for me. So I'm just law of averages. I'm fading.
Kenny, they covering? Chase or fade?
Yeah, it's the Wizards have covered 7 and 8. This has been a great story, but they have not been asked to cover a double-digit spread all season long, at least when they've been favored. This is kind of ridiculous. But look, OKC does have the third worst defense over the last 10 games. I don't know how they stopped Bradley Beal. Poku's been great, but other than that, nothing really jumps out at you about this team. I actually think that they could cover this. I do. I think that we've seen a lot of weird results here. We've seen a lot of blowouts late in the season, just with teams not tanking because that really doesn't exist anymore, but just kind of giving up. The Thunder are one of those teams that have just kind of given up on the season. They've punted on the season. The Wizards look like they're, Russell Westbrook is still interested in playing very well. So yeah, I think they could cover this spread. Again, I don't know how they stop Bradley Beal and Russell Westbrook.
Guys, we have the Spurs and Pacers, essentially a pick 'em here. San Antonio -1. So chase or fade, they cover it, Ryan.
I am fading this. I think the Pacers are the better team. Kenny touched on it last segment, though. They're playing different. And different, I mean no defense. And this game is going to be fast-paced. I just think that Brogdon and Sabonis are not going to be able to be guarded by anybody that San Antonio has. It's going to be up and down, a lot of shots made. But, you said it, essentially a pick-em game. I'm going with Indiana.
What do you want to do, Kenny?
This is a really tough one for me because I think that Ryan makes some good points about how they simply, I think, have the two better players on the floor, or the two best players on the floor, Indiana. But I actually like the Spurs here. I think that the Spurs, this game means just as much to them as it means to the Pacers. They're hanging out to that 10. They're hanging on to that 10 spot out west. And the Pacers defense is the biggest concern for me, as Ryan touched on. They are 25th over the last 10 games. I think that makes a difference. The Spurs are still a pretty, rock steady defense here. I tend to bet based on defenses. And to me, I have to take the better defense here in what should be a game with a lot of possessions. A lot of chances here for the Spurs to get stops and a lot of chances for them to score on an Indiana team that, again, has just been so bad stopping the ball. And not to mention, they've been kind of banged up. Doug McDermott might miss this game. So, yeah, give me the Spurs.
Jules, do they cover? Chase or fade?
Yeah, it's a weird game. I'm going to chase the Spurs here, and everything it makes sense that the Pacers win this game. Why are the Pacers 1-point underdogs at home to this San Antonio team? But then you look into the numbers. The Pacers are, both of these teams actually, wild home road splits. The Pacers are 9-16 at home. The Spurs, who are a losing team at home, are 15-10 on the road. The Pacers have covered one time in their last 12 home games. They are spiraling out of control at home for some reason. So it feels kind of gross. The Pacers should be a better team than the Spurs. And then you have the Spurs, who are 17-8 against the spread on the road this season. So are the Pacers better? Maybe, but I got to go with the numbers, and the numbers are all about the Spurs.
Suns and the Bucks, guys, is the largest total tonight. Chase or fade that these two teams go over 233 points right now on the DK Sportsbook. Kenny.
I'm going over here. The Suns defense, like this Suns team in general, they're great. I think that they might be the best team out. It might be the best team in basketball, honestly. But this is not the same team as we're used to, right? We were used to this team playing elite defense, Chris Paul grinding the pace to a very slow halt here. The Suns defense is outside the top 10 over the last 10 games, which is kind of crazy to say. They were a really slow-paced team. They're not that way anymore. The Bucks obviously are one of the fastest-paced teams in the NBA, if not the fastest-paced team in the NBA. They love to push the tempo. So I think this total here, I don't think it's high enough. I think that this game goes over. There should be a lot of scoring. And again, there's always the potential for overtime when you get two teams as evenly matched as the Suns and the Bucks. I think that there's going to be a lot of scoring down the stretch, maybe even an extra session. I think this game goes well over here. I love this total.
Jules, you love this total?
I probably don't love it as much as Kenny. It sounds like he's probably going to bet it. I'm probably not going to bet it, but I do lean to the over. The only thing that scares me is, you get two good teams. You want to say like maybe a finals preview, but it's not going to be. Where these teams like lock up and give a little bit more on the defensive end. But again, numbers go the complete other way. The Bucks are 18-9 to the over at home, while the Suns are a better over team at home. They've gone over in 8 of their last 11 overall. Milwaukee's gone over in 13 of their last 20. Like, these teams have been putting up points, and I think that we should see them in this game.
Ryan, chase or fade, the Suns and Bucks go over 233 points.
I'm also chasing this. It's 3 for 3. Giannis looks back 28, 11, and 8 last game, and I like that for the Bucks as far as scoring points goes. I don't know if you guys watched the Golden State-Boston game just the other night, but as we get closer to the end of the season, fans are starting to come to the games. Games feel real. Games feel meaningful now. I think this is going to be one of those games. Both these teams need a W to keep up. I think that the Bucks are second in the East right now, and the Suns are second with a dwindling Utah team without Donovan Mitchell. I think this game means a lot, even though it's an Eastern team versus a Western team. I think this is going to be a very meaningful game tonight, so I'm going over.
All right, so Jules, one of the lower totals, I think it's tied for the lowest currently on the DraftKings Sportsbook. You got the Jazz and the Lakers, so I want you to chase your fade that they go over 215 here.
Yeah, I'm going to go over here. This is an interesting total because these two teams played on Saturday in the national game in the afternoon, and Utah essentially rested everybody. Mitchell was out and will remain out, but Gobert is off, Conley's off, and the total closes 215. Now those guys come back and sitting at 214.5. Gobert obviously has an impact, maybe even more so on the defensive end than offensively, but Utah scored 115 points in that game that they lost and gave up 127 to the Lakers. I think this is going to be right around the same type of score, but with Utah getting the game with their players back. So I think it should be another pretty comfortable over in my mind.
Is it a comfortable over in your mind, Ryan?
Yes, I'm also with the comfortable over. And like Julian said, they just played last Saturday, and granted the players on the floor are going to be different this time around, but I think that those players coming back do impact scoring points as well. And also I have this, might be a hot take, might not be, but they do a lot of isolation possessions with Spida when Donovan Mitchell's in. Maybe this total doesn't reflect that as much. And maybe without Spida, that they are a little bit more run and gun or have a tendency to be more a transition team, even if that's slightly without Donovan Mitchell. But who knows? I think this is a comfortable over, though.
We going with the sweep here, Kenny? An over?
No, we're not going with the sweep. I
Yes.
think that Gobert being back actually impacts. I think the meaningfulness of this game, Gobert being back, that impacts the total in the other way. I think that this game goes under. Ilyasova and Favors are also questionable for this game. The Lakers have all these guys listed as probable, but as we saw last game, that doesn't even matter one bit. I mean, these guys went from probable to out last game. So there's always the chance that they could be short-staffed, the Jazz could be short-staffed. But the thing about it is that both of these teams are playing just phenomenal defense over the last 10 games. And while the Jazz don't have Donovan Mitchell, they do still have a bunch of great defenders. Joe Ingles gives them length at the point guard position. I just think that this game's going to be so hotly contested, so important that it's just dragged out. And as we saw in that when the Luka Doncic hit that leaner from 3 and that game went over, we saw another example of an important game, a big game coming down to like 3 possessions in like a minute and a half, or it felt like it anyway. So I don't think that there's going to be many scores down the stretch here in a very close game. And I just think ultimately this game goes on. Both of these defenses are playing that well for me to take this low total.
Slate approved pick time. Favorite DK Sportsbook NBA bet tonight. Ryan.
I like Mikal Bridges over 11.5 points. It's the highest point total of the entire night. And the tendency for the Suns to play Mikal Bridges a lot of minutes when they're playing a team with a bunch of good wings. Chris Middleton, good player. Giannis, good player. I think that he's going to have to be on the floor a lot to guard those type of guys. Maybe not Giannis so much, but Chris Middleton for sure. And so he's going to get minutes. And on the season, he averages 12.8 points a game. So with the over and his averages just for the whole season, I'm going over 11.5 for Mikal Bridges.
Kenny.
I like the Sixers minus 6.5 here. I think that the Warriors front court is that bad. They've been atrocious rebounding the basketball. They have the 3rd fewest rebounds per 100 possessions, the 2nd lowest rebound rate in the NBA this year. Joel Embiid, Dwight Howard, Ben Simmons, these are all guys, they're very long. They rebound the basketball quite well. The other thing about the Golden State Warriors is we know that their entire offense is Steph Curry. Who's he going to face tonight? Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons has locked up the best point guards in the NBA. Luka Doncic can't score against this guy. Neither will Steph Curry. I think that the Golden State Warriors offense is going to be hurting in a big way, and this front court is going to get absolutely demolished by Philadelphia's big men. And then Ben Simmons, of course, this team leads the league in post-ups per 100 possessions or per game. Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, like these guys just post up their defenders and run them into oblivion. And I don't see any way the Golden State Warriors with this weak front 2 get anything done on defense against the Sixers. So I think they cover this spread pretty easily. I think they handle Golden State and get a big win.
Jules, bring us home your favorite sportsbook NBA bet tonight.
Kenny, do you like the Sixers enough to take them -9 because that's the real spread?
Sure, why not? I think the Golden State Warriors getting crushed. Maybe the first half, like you usually like. But
All
this
right,
is what
cool.
It was like 6.5 when I checked last night.
Great. You guys think I cheat? Kenny just gives himself 2.5 points on spreads.
That was the
Anyway.
opener.
Yeah.
That wasn't a fake line.
Kenny, they changed though, man. Come on.
Odds and lines are subject to change. Anyway, fortunately, we missed out on my if you watch the MLB segment, I would have bet Red Sox no run first inning. There were 7 runs in the first inning of that game.
This is
That just means we're
ridiculous.
due for a win here.
I took the total was 7.5. I took the over. I felt great.
Yeah, congrats on the win. I'm going to go I want to bet the Celtics -6 here. I want to see what their injury report looks like. Obviously, this number is kind of up in the air because of, Tatum probable, Brown questionable, Kemba questionable. I don't know what mix match of players we're going to get in this one, but I know that the Bulls are not themselves right now. They've lost a bunch in a row, and they are going to be without Zach LaVine for a while. So if 2 of those 3 really of Boston's best players are in, I will get on the Celtics -6 pretty quick, and it will start moving. If for some reason those guys are out and this isn't something we can play, the Spurs that we talked about, I would bet Spurs money line.